Team, welcome to this session, everyone. Like I said before, my name is Daniel. I was going to introduce myself. I'm Daniel. I am an ex-Chevening Scholarship awardee, currently an alumnus of the Chevening Scholarship. I got it in 2015, and I pursued my first master's degree at the University of Durham in England in the same year, from 2015 to 2016. Since then, I actually got a second scholarship, worked at Nestle, got a second scholarship to go to Cambridge, and I'm currently based in Brussels. You'll see a more graphical image of my introduction very, very shortly. But more interestingly, Grad Success, which is actually the platform on which this is hosted, is an initiative I founded in 2013 at Covenant University in my final year. And then it was just supposed to be a small club to help final year students get access to opportunities at strategic consulting firms like McKinsey and BCG and Bain, but mostly McKinsey, because McKinsey was the only company in Nigeria then. And then we will run through case studies and prepare for the PST and things like that. But then it graduated to something even more interesting. Grad Success, then it was Club 340. Club 340 was also a club or a small community of people. I was facilitating that community, helping people get access to materials for the GRE, applying to schools in the US for their masters, and just giving people help that they needed with making applications to graduate schools in the US and then in the UK. And that was really how it came to be. But today, what we are at the very broad level is just a small community. We call ourselves an unorthodox consulting firm, where graduates come to us asking for information, or they try to follow our page on Instagram, trying to get information to help them make key decisions in their graduate school application process, or even in making decisions for entry-level roles after their undergrad. And so everything we do at Grad Success, whether it's our live events, the graduate speaker series events, if you follow the Instagram page, you will know of our live events that happen once every month, or the page, the daily posts we have, or weekly posts we have, the Insight series, everything is geared towards that very purpose of helping graduates attain their short-term career and graduate school objectives. So that's a very short introduction for Grad Success. At this point, allow me to share my screen, and then we would kickstart some that you can see my screen. If you can't see anything, if something isn't clear, feel free to just say it on the chat, and then we can always make it clearer for you. Okay, brilliant. So I would also say at this point, we are also on Instagram, like I said, at Grad Success NG. So try to follow it. Follow us on Instagram so that you wouldn't miss out on anything that we do, because we announce all the events there first of all before we announce them via email or on any other platform. So I would encourage you to follow the Instagram page, share it with your friends and family that you think can benefit from what we do. More interesting things will be happening there. We'll be having more live events with more interesting people. I have someone from Harvard Business School scheduled to be on that live event to talk about his experience going on an MBA. So very interesting things are happening, but you would never know if you're not following us on Instagram. Okay, so enough of the talk. I'm going back onto the agenda for today. Like I said, this is our agenda. This is what we're going to do today. We're going to walk through this journey onto the very last spot right here, and along the way, you will be seeing you have some points where you would have to go into your small different breakout rooms, and you will talk to other people in this workshop, and then we will come back to the main session, and I will show you how that will happen very, very shortly. Okay, so agenda for today really is going to be very brief. Like I said, this workshop is for you. It's for you in the sense that if you're at the point where you want to make an application for graduate school, you want to go for a scholarship, you want to apply to the UK, for your master's degree, and you don't know how to get funding, or like most people I know, you already have admission to one school in the UK, Hertfordshire, Liverpool, Bournemouth. It's really easy, right? Apart from the very top ones, but most people get offers to the UK much easier than to schools in the US. So if you're on that group where you have an offer already, but you don't have funding, so this workshop is for you, and it's to share. First of all, what kind of scholarship opportunities do you have? Also, how can you make those applications? What goes into making an application for the major scholarships that you have? And then why don't people get scholarships when they've done everything? Why can't they get scholarships? So I'm talking as someone that has gotten 2 fully UK funded scholarships. One from Chevening to Durham in 2015. I was 22 years at the time, and also another one in 2018 to the University of Cambridge. So that was my second funding, and it was fully funded to the University of Cambridge. So I will tell you all of this. And I'll walk you through that, So this workshop is for you if you're in that space and you want to know more. I would also say this, it's a workshop, right? And at Grad Success, our philosophy is to give you all you need to make the best of your experience, to give you all you need to make the best of your own experience. We use a do-it-yourself approach. So you have all the information you need, and then at the end of the day, it comes down to you writing your own essays. But we have services that we offer, and I will let you know about that later on. So my experiences, unfortunately, are going to be biased more for people on a science background, but the principle is the same. I did an engineering bachelor's degree, but the principle of writing a good scholarship essay is still the same. So whether you studied history or microbiology or banking and finance, if you're writing a Chevening essay, don't worry. I know the principles, the basics, and I'm going to share them with you today. Okay, so again, I've gone on a long ramble, but my point is it's a scholarship to give you what you need to make the best of your experience. And don't expect that, it's like a guarantee that if you come to this workshop, you'll get it, but you will have enough information to make the right decisions. I didn't have something like this, and I wish I had a workshop like this. And maybe I would, I still got the scholarship anyway, but maybe it would have been easier. Okay, so I will share my journey with you also, and then I'll walk you through the different kinds of UK scholarships. Then we'll go into Chevening. The UK scholarship part of it is going to be a very, very brief overview in the sense that I wouldn't really dwell too much. I'll just run through an overview of all the 3 major UK scholarships. And then we'll spend more time in Chevening, which I believe is a good example. If you can do a successful Chevening essay, the principle is the same for other types of scholarships, So I can see some people are asking questions, and I will get to those questions, but just to make sure I don't lose my train of thought, I will run through some things and then stop for a bit, and then I'll answer some of your questions along the way. But it's good you're asking your questions. Please keep them coming. Thank you very much. Okay, so like I said, we'll run through the different UK scholarships, and then we'll spend some time on Chevening, which is the one I got, and I will share my essays, my own essays, the essays that got me my first Chevening scholarship, my first and only Chevening scholarship to the UK in 2015. We will run through all of them. I will tell you what has changed between 2015 and 2020, 5 years, but the principle is the same. And then you will see what actually I did there that made it happen. Okay, so that's the case study there, and then we'll have along the way we'll have 2 major breakout sessions, and the very first one will happen very soon. And then we would have, we'll come back and then we'll continue with the workshop just to spice things up a little bit. See, it's intended to be a very smooth experience, but if something doesn't look so right, don't worry. It's nothing too serious. We'll come back and we'll still have a good time. Okay, so let's continue. So I'm going to start on the first item, my journey. Let me show you more about myself in some interesting pictures. So please, if you find some of them funny, it's fine. It's my journey, so it shouldn't be all glamorous, right? Okay, so let's move on with the agenda. So this is my journey, and you can see some interesting pictures here. Very briefly, I'll walk you through my Chevening Award in 2015, my scholarship at Durham, my Durham experience, my University of Durham experience, my experience working with Nestle after my Chevening Award. As you will know, you have to go back and spend 2 years in your home country. And then my second scholarship at University of Cambridge, an event that we had in London with other scholars on the same scholarship from LSE and Oxford, and Cambridge dinner and Belgium. So I will go into those pictures and we'll talk more about them. So the first experience, this was me on my Chevening night, the night I got my award. You can see this is like, even that bow tie, God, I'm not so proud of that bow tie. I don't know what I was thinking, but that was me very happy. Just 22 years then, and then I was selected for Chevening. My first major funding, to the UK. It was a very exciting night for me. I didn't expect to get it. Like I said, I'll tell you more about the process, but I literally just applied when I was starting my NYSC, and then 8 months down the line, long story cut short, I got the scholarship. So I was excited. I was the youngest in that presentation award that night, and I felt really, really blessed and very grateful to have gotten the Chevening Award. Okay, so the next image there you see is at Durham University. These are all the scholars I met at Durham University. All of us are Chevening scholars from different countries, and that's the beautiful thing about Chevening. Chevening brings scholars from so many different countries, under the Commonwealth arrangement with the UK, from Mexico, from Ecuador. It's such an international experience. You meet so many interesting people. You form very valuable connections. And that was one of my most beautiful experiences actually in the UK. So we all had like some parties and some evenings, and then this was one of those events where we had together. And you can see me right there in the corner. Okay, not everybody here was Chevening, and he was on a separate scholarship. The lady next to me, she's Nigerian. I think she got the scholarship from the President Jonathan Scholarship Award. It's been discontinued, but she was one of the awardees then. And we were both at the University of Durham. Okay, and that's me at Nestle in 2017 or so with my colleagues. After my scholarship at Durham, I returned back to work in Nigeria in Nestle, the manufacturing company. I did that for 2 years, and I built some experience, gave back to my home country, enjoyable experience, built some interesting skills. And I will tell you why that experience was very helpful later down when I start talking about my Cambridge essays, not in this workshop here, but in another workshop. And that's me when I moved back to the UK on my second fully funded scholarship from Magdalen College, or Magdalen College like they would say, at the University of Cambridge. We had an event hosted by the scholarship that took us to London. And as part of that event, we had to meet other scholars from Oxford and LSE twice in the scholarship year. So when I was at Cambridge, I came to London twice, and we had this beautiful, they spoiled us with interesting dinners, and then we got to know more about other scholars on the same scholarship, but at different universities. Actually, just 2 other universities, Oxford and LSE. I was at Cambridge. So it was an interesting experience. And that was the Cambridge dinner as well. At Cambridge, you can't show, I had to put 2 pictures for Cambridge because dinners are actually a culture at Cambridge, and it's helpful to see what that's like. And I'm also trying to inspire people here on this call to apply more to Cambridge. There are not many Nigerians or Africans or minorities that think Cambridge is for them. And part of the workshop is to motivate you and let you know that if I could do it, then you can do it. Obviously, this was after my first master's and after my first Chevening scholarship. So, and some experience at Nestle. So, but then, I mean, don't never say no to yourself, make a try, and then you will be surprised what comes through. So that was the dinner, towards the end of my program at Cambridge. And this is me currently at Brussels. I work in my company coordinating activities in Europe, Middle East, and Africa as a supply chain operator. I actually work in a data analyst role at the moment. But then, yeah, this is actually my colleagues at work, and then that is where I am presently. So that is really my journey, if you would ask me. And it's really how far I've come up to this point. So the next agenda actually is going to be, I'm going to pause at this point. We're going to go into a breakout session. But before we do that, I'm going to look at what people are saying I'm going to look at what people are saying in the chat, and then we will continue. Okay, so let's see. All right. Everyone to talk to each other, we all have common interests, so I don't see why it should be weird, awkward. Okay. Let's wait for everyone to come back to the main session. Okay. So guys, I think we have about everyone back in the main session. I'm gonna go room by room and ask everyone what the experience was like. So in breakout room 1, if you are in breakout room 1, one person can speak for each group. What was it that, what was the most popular university choice, or if if nobody, there was no popular university choice, what was the most popular type of degree people you are applying for? You know, so you can say your own name and where you're planning to go to, and then say what degree type you are pursuing. I want to know if we have more engineering or arts and humanities people in the room. So someone in breakout room one can just, you can text. If you don't want to talk, or mute your mic and talk, then room two, okay.
Yeah, in my breakout room, we had a split.
Mm-hmm.
So someone wanted to study media and communication studies.
Mm-hmm.
Someone talked about staying in the IT field.
Mm-hmm.
Then someone talked about information management.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
So generally it's
At
more like sciences, right?
Yeah, it's more like sciences, and the UK and Oxford, Cambridge was coming up in almost everyone's
Wow, that's very, very interesting.
selection.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, so I think you guys are a powerful bunch there. I'm looking out for you guys. So today we'll be working through, like I said, this is just an overview. I'll show you the 4 or the 3 major kinds of scholarships you have for going for your master's or your graduate programs in the UK. And then I will tell you, you know, show some highlights and then the things to avoid for for these 3 different scholarships. There are specific things you want to know not to do. You must not do those things if you're applying for these scholarships. And there are highlights for each of them. We'll start from Chevening. So Chevening highlights, let's see what we'll find. So for Chevening, I would say at a very high level, we'll come back to this in more detail, but at a very high level, one of the things you should know about Chevening is that, you know, the application is separate. If you've started your application that was opened, I think at the beginning of September, then you would know that it's separate. You're applying to your UK offer, for your UK offer, and then you apply for the scholarship with Chevening on the Chevening website. And they are 2 separate platforms. So that's the first thing to know. The second thing to know is that you have to have 3 choices. When applying to Chevening, they tell you to select 3 schools, which comes back to my point. When I say in selecting those 3 schools you want to go to, be very smart. Don't put Oxford, Cambridge, LSE, except you had a 5.0 GPA and you worked at Total. No, you worked at Shell or you worked at United Nations after you left school. Otherwise, like, it's just a high risk candidacy. I would rather put Cambridge, put LSE, and put maybe University of Manchester if I want to study something like accounting or finance, for instance. Those are still decent schools, but you're likely to get into one of them. Cambridge, Oxford, LSE is very fierce. You know, they are very, very premium schools. And it's not like anything is wrong with your candidacy, but chances are always 50-50. And you don't want to do 50-50 with Chevening. You want to have one option that is 50-50, one option that is 80-20, and one option that is almost certain. So that's always what I try to talk about when I tell people to choose their 3 choices. Then you should also know there are 4 essays. By now you would know that Chevening asks you to write 4 essays. I'll come back to these 4 essays later on. But generally it's leadership. One is about leadership, one is about networking, another one is about studying in the UK, and another one is about your career benefits. What are you taking back to your country after your scholarship, after your award? I'll talk more about this later on. Another highlight for Chevening that you should know of is the priority areas. Every time the UK publishes a new scholarship, every time they start the Chevening year, they try to make sure that the people they are giving those scholarships are in sync, have plans that are in sync with what their countries are going through. So the UK wants to invest in you. They want to give you money. They want to invest in your education to come back and solve a problem in your country. But I want to make sure that the problem you're coming to solve is actually a problem in your country. I will elaborate more when I go to my own essay, but essentially in my own year, in 2015, the year I applied, in 2014, the year I applied to Chevening, November 2014, that year, Nigeria was having issues with Boko Haram, for instance. There was a lot of counter-terrorism issues. So there was a lot of priority for people that were going to study counter-terrorism or security or things like that. I studied in my Chevening year. I went together with so many people from the police force, superintendents of police and things like that. They were given the Chevening Award that year. So you want to be very smart. You want to know. I mean, it doesn't mean that if you are not connected to counterterrorism, or if your prospective master's is not connected to terrorism, that you should try to make it fit it into that. You know, there's always a priority area that your country is going through that would make sense for you to align with. And then once you get that alignment right the first time, that sets direction for the rest of your essays. So please investigate, go back and check United UK in Nigeria Facebook pages to see what they're interested in, what they're invested in. Check the UK High Commission page in Nigeria, check their pages, just check out those UK pages for Nigeria and see what kind of interest they have in Nigeria at the moment, and generally where they want to put their money, and then make sure that your interests are summarized around that. So those are what I mean by priority areas. So make sure you define that correctly. So those are highlights for Chevening. Let's go to what you should avoid. With every scholarship, there is the thing you don't want to do, and Chevening has its own things you should avoid. See, this is actually, I'll come back to this at the end of this workshop, but trust me, you want to make sure that in filling out your form, that your pre-screen questions are answered correctly. By now, you would know that you have to start, when you start your application, there are some forms you have to fill, all those basic forms that look like they're not serious, like, oh, what is your name? Where are you from? What is your nationality? Please fill them, take your time to fill them, because if you mistakenly answer yes to the question that asks if you're British, if you actually say you are British, then forget everything else you've written behind. As soon as you submit your application, you get a rejection mail the next day. The UK is not giving scholarships to British citizens, it's given it to people from developing countries in the Commonwealth areas and things like that. So pay attention to your pre-screen questions. I think I've seen a few good candidates that made one mistake and that was it. Avoid wrong personal details. Make sure you're answering, like I said before, make sure if they ask you if you're connected to a UK government official or something like that, you answer correctly. They ask you normally how many hours you've worked, to make sure that you are experienced enough. Like I told you if you watch the video, I had as an advertisement for this particular event, you would have seen that I told you that I mentioned that Chevening was also looking for people with middle-level career experience. So they want you to have about 2,800 hours of work experience in applying to Chevening. And to be able to ascertain whether you do that, they ask you to calculate, to write the total number of hours you've worked for each of your work experiences. At the end of the day, the math of it has to add up to 2,800 hours or more. So in calculating that, you want to make sure that your numbers are right. If your numbers end up being in excess of 2,800, maybe by too much, it should be above 2,800 ideally, but not like 40,000 hours. That doesn't make you human. If you have 40,000 hours of experience, you're no longer human, But if you have 2,800, 2,900, 4,000 hours of work experience, that makes sense. If you have too little, if you have 10 hours of work experience, you wouldn't cross, the system automatically rejects you. Nobody reads your application. So please pay attention to the way you calculate your hours worked. Plagiarism. Plagiarism is important, because people copy essays and things like that. So make sure you're checking that you're not using someone's essays. And that's why I don't really encourage people. When people ask me for my essays, I'm always quick to say, sorry, no. The best you can have is a workshop like this where I show you what I did, the underlying reasoning, the underlying logic that helped me to write good essays, why that essay was a success. I don't just share my essays because it doesn't make anything. Some people are too lazy to edit it and they just send your essays and then they get rejected and they don't know why they got rejected. Chevening, and as you go into your master's programs, this is the UK master's degree programs are fortified with plagiarism checking softwares to make sure you are not using someone else's work. So please don't copy someone else's work. If you don't have, so tell me, Tope, you're asking, what if you don't actually have up to 2,800 hours of work experience? I would say, it's a good question and I'll answer your question. Very good question, thanks for asking. Because I strongly doubt I had 2,800 hours of work experience when I was applying to Chevening in 2014. When I say work experience, I mean work experience, like after school work. I had not gone for my NYSC, remember. But what I would say is reflect on your internships. Like what internships have you done for your SciWest? Even your SWEP is an experience, it's a work experience, but it has to make sense. It has to be connected to something. I'll give you an example. So my work experience, at that time, Chevening allowed you to add volunteering experiences. I don't think that's the case now. But then I could add some of my volunteering experiences. I used to work with an orphanage outreach group, and every holiday, every August, long holiday in the July to August period, We'll go to orphanage homes and give children clothes and buy food for them, and then just give them books, you know, distribute books and things like that. And it was adding up gradually. In 4 years, I had done that outreach events about 4 times. Then I had my sideways experience for 6 months in an automobile company. And I had done some other small, I just picked it, you know, and then I was also thinking, by the time these guys are reading my essay, you know, by the time I'm due for the award, I would have completed my NYSC. I would have done 90% of my NYSC, which would have been proper work experience. So I think that was my underlying logic. And I put all of that down there. Of course, you tell them your current employment at the time you're applying. And I was starting my NYSC. I already knew what I was going to be doing. So I wrote my current employment, put the period I was going to be working, and put the number of hours per week for the length of the period. And everything was natural. It added up to 2,800 hours. Fine, like perfectly. So think about that. Think they're smart. You have to be really smart. If they say 2,800 hours and you're like, oh, I've not even done NYSC, blah, blah, blah. No, be very smart. People are thinking, you know, yeah, it's a competition, guys, you know. So think about it like that and you should be fine. Okay, so I would go back. So like I said, make sure you're choosing 3 different courses. I bring this point back again because it's important. Don't choose the same course at all the 3 universities. Try to make sure that you're choosing 3 different courses. Or there's a way they say, don't choose the same university 3 times with the same course or something like that. Make sure you have 3 different universities. I think it can be the same course, but at 3 different universities, or the same university, but 3 different courses, something like that. But it shouldn't be the same. You can't choose one course at Oxford and your other choice will be the same course at Oxford, and the third choice will be the same course at Oxford. That will be rejected automatically by the system. And I know why they are doing that. They are doing that because Chevening is not the sole provider of your scholarship. They provide 80% of the funding. The other university has to provide 20% of the funding. And in the event that the university that you've chosen, if you've chosen just one university for the 3 slots, and that university says, sorry, we can't provide that 20%, Chevening has to bring the other 20% themselves. And so to increase the chances that one of the choices you're choosing would bring that other 20%, they ask you, hey, spread your options, put 3 different schools. The same course, but yes, 3 different schools. So if A says no, we go to B and ask if they can bring 20%. And that's what happens. Sometimes you get an offer from your first choice, but then Chevening can get the other 20%. So they ask you in a separate email, sorry, would you want to consider the second choice? Because we're having some difficulty with the first choice, you know. And that's how it works. So don't make their life difficult by just giving them one option, you know. It's that math doesn't work for them. Okay, so that's just something I wanted to draw out. Yes, and then there are more things to avoid. I would encourage you to go to Chevening's website and check for all the other issues that you might find, other errors that, you know, other things that you want to avoid. It's very important. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go to the next scholarship. I spent a lot of time on Chevening because I am speaking from someone that got that scholarship, you know. And I know a bit more about Chevening, but the same principle applies to Commonwealth and then to Oxford and Cambridge scholarships. Oxford and Cambridge scholarships are very different, a bit different, you know, in terms of what you should avoid, but the principle for the essays are the same. So please pay attention when we get to the essays section. Okay. All right, so let me continue. There are some questions in the comments, but I want to make sure we are on point with time, so I won't answer everything, so forgive me, but I'll come back to it if I have more time. All right, so let's go to Commonwealth. For the Commonwealth shared scholarships, we have highlights. Huh? We have the key highlights. Very similar to Chevening, Commonwealth shared has 6 themes for applications. You know, they have their so it's what they call priority areas. I like to think of Commonwealth shared as Chevening inverted. It's like Chevening, but you know, it's just done differently. So it's very helpful to look at the Commonwealth, even if you're not going to apply to Commonwealth shared. I would encourage you to look at the Commonwealth shared. Look at the Commonwealth shared application portal. You might want to check the Grad Success bio page for the link. I don't think that link is available, right? I can't think of it offhand, but the link to the Commonwealth shared application page is on the Grad Success Instagram bio link. Please go and look at the application process. And I know why I'm saying that, because you know, the process, the kind of sub-questions they ask you to fill out on the essays would guide you on what Chevening is asking for. And I will explain that very shortly. So like I said, they have 6 themes. Look at their priority areas and try to choose a program under those 6 themes. Spread your options for schools. Commonwealth Shared allows you to choose up to 10 different schools, I think. I'm not sure if it's the case now, but I could choose 10 different universities in the UK and apply to 10 of them for my master's. And they would nominate, if any of those schools nominated me for their Commonwealth Shared scholarship, then I would get it. And if you don't know what Commonwealth Shared is, I would explain. Commonwealth Shared is actually like the UK government again, sponsoring you, but they do this by giving each university in the UK that they partner with, they give them slots. So Cambridge can have 10 spaces. Oxford can have 10 spaces. All the universities, like 100 universities in the UK can have their slots, but the most popular universities normally have more slots. So if you're applying to Cambridge and Cambridge has 10 Commonwealth Shared slots, then they have to choose, you know, it's normally to Commonwealth countries, and Nigeria is one of them. So they have to choose from all the candidates that have chosen to apply to their university, and for the different programs that are qualified under their university, they will then choose, okay, based on your essays and your qualifications, do you get the scholarship or not? You might get an interview as part of the process, or you might not. You might just go through your essays and your references and your qualification. Is very, very fierce. You know, you are competing with other Commonwealth countries. So the guys from Trinidad and Tobago, Nigeria, Ghana, everybody has applied to that university. But I still think it's much less competitive than Chevening. Chevening is 40,000 people, you know, in the world. Okay, for your school, it might be less, but it's a bit more fierce because Chevening is from your country, Nigeria. You're applying 30,000 people just playing for the 45 spots or 50 spots in Nigeria. Commonwealth Shared is maybe 3,000 people just playing for 10 spots. So you decide where you want to fall in, you know. But then it's a bit of a much more thorough process. Like you would see very soon, the essays are much more detailed. The first question they'll ask you is a career benefit question, which has 3 different sub-questions under it. They ask you, what is the time frame within which you can go back and give back to your country, you know, after you finish your master's? What is the outcome of your master's? What can you give back? What would you do? What kind of job would you be doing after your master's? They ask you the outcome of change. Beneficiaries, who is going to benefit after you finish studying? So they ask you for all those questions on your essays. They ask you your proposed courses. Why are you studying this course in the UK? Why are you choosing to go to the UK? What are the objectives for studying this course and for studying it in the UK? Okay, someone is trying to say something. Let me pause for a minute. I'm hearing someone's voice in the background. Okay. Otherwise, please kindly mute your mic so it doesn't interrupt us. Okay. So they ask you, you know, why these courses? What is the objective for studying these courses? Do you have any dissertation topics in mind? So why I say that this is important in applying for Chevening is because Chevening doesn't give you this breakdown. These bullet points you're seeing here, they don't give it to you. They just ask you very broadly. Why are you choosing to study in the UK? Your leadership, they just give you one long story, but it's for you to then know how you want to explain your essays in Chevening. And this breakdown under the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship can give you some bullet points that can help you frame your essays. So these are things nobody will tell you. These are things you wouldn't get anywhere else. And that's why this workshop is very helpful. So connect the link between the Commonwealth Shared and Chevening together and you become more advantaged. They are both funded by the Foreign and Commonwealth Office in the UK. And so it's helpful to understand that they have similar objectives. So if one of them is stating more, is explaining more in terms of the essays, like what they're asking you to provide for the essays, then know that the other one is asking for it, but they might not just make it clear. So please be very smart. Huh? Just use both of them. You don't have to apply for both, but you can leverage one to get the best from the other. So I won't spend too much time on this. Let's go to what to avoid. So for Commonwealth Shared, if they're giving you 10 slots, don't avoid the one basket situation. Don't just choose one school and that's it. Spread your options. Apply to as many schools as you possibly can. I know on Commonwealth Shared, that same year, you wouldn't believe it, that same year, I think in total I applied to 10 schools. I applied to 10 schools. I sent out my application to 10 UK schools the year I got Chevening. And it was very important. Like I told you, my 3 choices on Chevening were rejected. So I applied to Cambridge that first year. I mean, I got back into Cambridge the second time. But that first year I was rejected from Cambridge and UCL and Imperial College for a master's in engineering, advanced master's in engineering. But then what really helped me was that in applying to the Commonwealth Shared Program, I had applied to Durham. But I didn't get the Commonwealth Shared with Durham. I had gotten an offer from Durham. And that was eventually what I used to replace my rejections for Chevening. And eventually I went to Durham University, which is just as good as many of the top schools in the UK. It's top 5, I think, on some rankings. So please spread out your options. Apply to more than one school. If you have a strong candidacy, please minimize. You don't have to waste your time. You know yourself better than I do, but it's always a good idea to spread your options. Then don't use weak references. Use strong academic profiles for your references. For the Commonwealth Shared, you want to make sure you're using your professors, using people that understand you, that are not going to pick a template and just edit it, because that's also plagiarism. Imagine if the lecturer uses the template he used for Chemi, and both of you are applying to the same school, and they are literally seeing Chemi's reference on your own sheet, like really, So make sure you talk to your supervisors, talk to your professors, tell them what you're hoping, what the criteria for the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship is, so that they know how to tailor your application properly. Okay, that's it really for Commonwealth Shared. The last one is not going to take too much time, and then we'll go into my essays. There is a singular application for the Oxbridge scholarships. It's slightly different. Okay, I will pause for a minute and just check charts and see. So Sandra has asked the question. Let's see. I have approximately 5 years experience. I work with about 10 hours a day with about, okay, that's almost 14,000 hours. Do I need to? No. I mean, if you have in excess, what I meant was don't put 100,000 hours in the hours worked. That is going to be flagged off by the system. 14,000 hours is reasonable. It's what you've worked is what you've worked. Like I said, Chevening is targeting mid-career experienced people. The 2,800 is most likely going to be relatable if you're just graduating from school and you've just worked for 2 years after you graduated. You're just 2 years after graduation. Most likely you will have around 2,800 hours. But most people that have worked that are in Chevening's target bracket will actually be around maybe 8,000, 10,000 hours actually, because they're like middle level. I had people that had children. Most of my colleagues that year I got Chevening, they had babies, they had children, they had families. They were old people, they had worked for years. So if you have 14,000, I think that's fine. But don't put 100,000 hours. Something is wrong if you have 100,000 hours of experience, I think, because the system will flag it off. Maybe it's even possible, but I mean, don't put something unrealistic. That's the point. I don't know if there's another question I've missed, but just to make sure. Okay. Okay, so that's it. Let me go back to the last point with Cambridge, with Oxbridge scholarships. Okay, so let's see. So for Oxbridge scholarships, I would say the difference between these and the other 2 scholarships is that, Oxbridge is just, you have to fill out the application, which is a very detailed, if you're applying to Oxford or Cambridge, you have a very detailed application process and you have to fill it out, But once you've filled it out, you've written your personal statement, you've written your research proposal. I think even for Oxford and Cambridge, for your masters, they call them, at Cambridge, the masters is called an MPhil, a master's in philosophy. The MSc you have in other schools, most of the time, Cambridge, you call it an MPhil. But it's really just saying, hey, we don't just do MSc, we do more research, we do more essay writing, we do more detailed studying. So Cambridge is obsessed with like essays and reading and research. So at my last degree, a master's in philosophy and engineering for sustainable development, was really robust in the sense of lots of reading and essays. So even for your application, you have to be very detailed. You have to write your personal statement, you write your research proposal, explaining why you're interested. Your research proposal is different from your personal statement for your master's at Cambridge or Oxford. But the good thing about them is that once you've written those detailed essays, and you've written your essay for the GATE scholarship is compulsory at Cambridge. It's like it's on the form. If you want to apply for it, you just tick a box that says, I want to be considered for this. And you write a separate essay for the Bill Gates scholarship. But once you've written all those essays and you've written the GATE scholarship, that's all you have to do for Oxford and Cambridge. It's a singular application. They would consider you automatically for all the scholarships that yourself as an African are eligible for at Oxford or at Cambridge, depending on the case, on where you're applying to. So that's the beautiful thing about those schools. They take all the trouble from you. They make your life very easy. And so all I had to do was spend my time on that one application, get powerful references, sent out my application. Once I got my offer, all I had to do was just maybe just 1 or 2 forms, and then I was considered. What I would tell you though, which is the second point, is funding. Your ability to get funding from Oxford or Cambridge depends very much on the colleges that you choose. You have to choose, you have to be very smart. Not all the colleges, Cambridge has 32 colleges. And if you don't know what Cambridge, the college system is like, sorry, I can't explain all of it for you, but University of Cambridge and Oxford have a different university setup. It's not your typical university. Those universities are not your typical universities. You may have to read up on your own and understand more about them. But generally, Cambridge has 32 colleges, and each of those colleges have their degree granting powers. They have their own money, you know, their universities on their own, right? So depending on which college you choose, you most likely will get funding or you most likely would not. Trinity College is the richest college in Cambridge. They have a lot of money, but they also want the best of the best of the best. If you apply to Trinity College, you most likely have a 5.0 GPA. You are really, really good. Or you are Donald Trump's son, you know, you have a lot of money, you're from a royal family, and you are very good. So, you know, it's tricky. Most likely, you won't get into Trinity College if you're just an average guy, average applicant. I'm just saying. But for Magdalene College, you know, Magdalene College has links to Africa. Nelson Mandela launched or inaugurated one of their buildings, one of the buildings in the college, and they have a lot of Africans there. If you apply to Magdalene College, or Magdalene, like they will call it, if you apply to Magdalene, then you most likely will get in as an African student. You most likely will get funding from Magdalene, and then you would most likely go to Cambridge. Same thing for Wolfson College. So, I mean, do your research. I would say for the purpose of this workshop, and just to save you all the trouble, Magdalene College is a good choice for Cambridge applications. Wolfson is good if you want to be considered for funding. Trinity is good if you pack a punch, you know, if you have a 5.0 GPA, you've worked at United Nations, you have all these things that allow them to see how you can be big, you have a prospect, a huge prospect in future. Because they want alumni that can come back and give back. But this is just me saying, I mean, I don't know so much. I have to disclaim. I don't know a lot, but I know you have to have a lot to apply to Trinity. You have to be more than the average guy. Okay, so I'm going to pause there, and that's really it. And then I will also encourage you to talk to faculty. For Oxbridge scholarships, you also want to make sure you're in touch with your course, the course administrators for the program you want to study, so that they could also tell you, you know, it helps to just be familiar with your course at Oxford or Cambridge, so that you're not very new when they're looking at people they want to nominate for scholarships. Because those departments also have to decide who gets the funding, you know. It comes down to you and some other person, and they want to know. So if you've spoken to faculty, you're more familiar, somehow it helps. I'm not saying that's what happens, but I know I did that. I spoke to faculty at Cambridge. The same person that sent me a rejection mail once I was rejected 5 years ago, I sent an email to her. I told her, hey, thank you for telling me what I did wrong last time. This is my new profile. I've applied to Cambridge again. I've applied to this program. Let me know if something is still wrong with my profile, blah, 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 blah. And long story short, I got into Cambridge, I got funded. I'm not saying that's the magic formula, but always talk to someone on the course. Okay, so let's see. People are sending questions. I'm going to take a break. We're going to take a break at this point, just a short break. I'm going to read through and see if anyone has asked anything. Okay, brilliant. So let's keep going. Scholarship trouble. So this is supposed to be a breakout room, and we're going to do it very quickly. This is 1 minute, guys, 1 minute. So 2 minutes in total. We'll break out again, and this time around, I want you guys to just talk amongst yourselves, you know, and then we'll come back. Nobody has to say anything on the microphone, but just I want you to type in, you know, just type back what your scholarship trouble is. What is your challenge with applying to UK scholarships? So we'll do it very quickly. Very, very quickly, ask the person next to you, like, what is your main scholarship challenge? And then we'll come back very quickly. I don't want us to, I mean, it's me talking too much is not the idea, right? It's a workshop, it has to be interactive. So ask everyone in your group. You guys should go around in a circle. You know, someone should say, my name is this, I'm applying to this or whatever, and just say, my main scholarship issue is like writing my essays. I think that's really difficult. Or my main scholarship challenge is finding a school that has funding, or the deadline is too close, or I have to write IELTS. Just say something in your groups and then we'll come back very quickly. Okay. Let's do this. I'm assigning, if you're not in a group, I'm going to assign you somewhere, and then we'll come back here very quickly. Okay. Okay, but if you don't want to go, it's fine. But I mean, the point is to interact with other guys and understand what other people are going through. You can learn a thing or two, and you can see that you can see how you're not alone in the process. Okay. Welcome back. People will start coming back very shortly. If you're just joining us, we have gone through like 1 hour already of the workshop, and then people are in different breakout rooms where they are discussing challenges they're having with their scholarship application process. But they're beginning to come back to the main session, and we will kickstart the workshop very soon. Okay, so are we back?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Great. Hope that was a better session than the last. So let's see. Does anyone want to go first? What is the general feel in your room? What is the most challenge most people are having in breakout room 1? Adesua, Barnabas, Josephine, what are people saying in your room? What is your biggest issue with your scholarship application process?
I think it's essay writing and IELTS.
IELTS. Sorry, I missed the first part. What did you say for the first part?
The essay writing.
Okay.
And then also for me, my own challenge is just if they would take, because I've already done a master's before in the UK,
Yeah,
and it's just like having to do another one, because some schools will not even accept it. That's my own challenge.
That makes sense, and I will talk about that now. Okay, good point. Second masters. Yes. Okay. Because I resonate with that from my master's to Cambridge. Okay, great point. So that's breakout room 1, essay writing, IELTS is a big issue. I'll talk to this point very quickly. Breakout room 2, what is the feel in your room? What was the general feel in your room?
Okay, this is Ayodele. So I and the person who spoke, who had the time to speak, we had similar challenges. I think ours was finding out about those scholarships, like not early enough. So, when you have to just scramble and just get something quickly, like writing the essay, you might not, might not have the, the right resources, to make up a very good essay. And that might not, that might be, that might bite you at the back eventually, right? So
Sure.
That was it for us. Yeah.
Brilliant. So that makes sense. Okay, nice point. Yeah, I mean, essay writing is something that is recurring across rooms, and yeah, you need to have a lot of insight to be able to put your essays together. I think it's always good to have an example to have, because Chevening is so arcane. It's like, it's that thing that you don't really know what works and what doesn't work, And you might know a lot of Chevening scholars, but you don't really know what they wrote in their essays, which is why the next section we're going to is very crucial. I will encourage you to participate in that session. If you cannot do anything else, just join the next session, because I'll be showing you my essays, and then we'll see how that works out. Okay, nice. Thanks for sharing. For breakout room 3, what was the feel in your room? There are only 3 people there: Adiola, Fisayo, Michael. Does anyone want to speak quickly? Or have
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The major challenge was the essay. One of us had issues with essay. She said she already started, but starting the essay is a big thing. So, and then the other person was an articulating experience. Like, she's done with NYSC, and then she needed what to put up and then how to come about it. But myself, I actually tried applying last year. I applied last year, so I was declined. So I felt it was majorly, I had a challenge with the essay.
And this is all Chevening, right?
At Chevening, yes.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense. So it's still the I'm hearing essays. No problem. I'll come to
Exactly.
it. That's why the next section is important. Okay, guys, what is the last breakout room? Great, thanks for sharing, Michael. For breakout room 4, what is the key issue you're having? Or the key issue that resonated? Would someone else want to say something apart from Ayeka Chukwu? Or Ayeka, would you want to give it a shot again? Okay, if someone wants to, does someone wants to text, or is it the same essay issue we have as with other groups? Okay, otherwise, we'll move to breakout room 5, and then let's see what the last group has to say. And then we'll move on to the next section. So what was
Hello,
the okay.
I was in breakout room 5, and I think it was only myself and another lady that really got the chance to speak. I think for me, it's had to do with articulating experiences as well. I feel like I do not have enough noble, in quotes, experiences to really wow them. I still doing my NYSC, and I just feel like most of my leadership experiences I gathered while in school. So I don't know if I would be able
So I
to
can't hear
add that,
you.
or if
Okay.
those experiences would add to my essay.
Okay, I can
Did
hear
you hear
you.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I was just saying that mine was articulating experience. Like that was, I do not know how best to articulate my experiences. I feel like most of my leadership experiences I got while in school, and I do not know if they would be really nice enough to actually add to my essay. Then the other lady that spoke spoke about IELTS.
Okay, IELTS. Okay. Okay, so there is such a resonating, there's something that resonates across all the breakout rooms. And I'm happy we did this particular, I think this was more insightful than the first in a way, because now you can see, everybody can see that it comes down to two things. If I'm to draw a big chart, it's essays at the very top of the list and IELTS. And then Adesua has a separate issue though. She has second master's issue. So I'll touch on Adesuwa's point from breakout room 1 first. And IELTS, I think it's important to start on time. Start doing your IELTS test on time. And towards the end of this presentation, you'll see why that is important. Because for the IELTS, it looks like an easy thing. Now, I didn't do my IELTS until April, but now I'm thinking about it, that was a big gamble. I took a gamble because the year after I got Chevening, I mentored a guy, he was way older than me, but I mentored a guy that had admission to Cambridge for a master's degree in law. He was referred to me by a friend. And he already had this offer from Cambridge, a conditional offer from Cambridge to study a master's in law. And he had gotten the Chevening interview. In fact, he later on got the Chevening conditional scholarship. Chevening gives you a conditional scholarship first and asks you to fulfill all those conditions they give you at the beginning to get your IELTS above all the marks, to get an unconditional offer from your university. So he had a conditional offer from Cambridge, and he needed to get an unconditional offer from Cambridge to get the final offer from Chevening. So it's a bit complicated, but that was the situation. Now, why couldn't he have an unconditional offer from Cambridge? He hadn't gotten his IELTS score yet. And he took it a bit late. So when he eventually took the IELTS in July, I think he took it in June or something. He had an 8, but then on one of the components, he had a 6.5. And Cambridge wants you to get a 7. Mind you, Chevening says 6.5 across all bands. So he was good with Chevening. For Cambridge, he wasn't good. He had a 6.5 on one component. His overall score was an 8. So he was still not qualified for Cambridge to give him a final offer. And that was it. He didn't get the final offer from Cambridge. I don't think he was interested in the second and third choice. But he had Oxford on his other, outside of his 3 choices. But Oxford was not on his application form. So Chevening couldn't consider giving him a scholarship to Oxford, even though it was already unconditional. So it was a bit complicated, but all of this was because of IELTS. The long story short is that he didn't get Chevening award that year. He lost it. But the good thing is that he went to Oxford the next year on a separate, fully funded scholarship. I'll type the name there for everyone to see. The scholarship he applied to the next year to Oxford. It's called the Dulverton Scholarship. but it's for law. I think it's got that for law, and it's for Oxford. So I mean, you can try that out on your own if you want. Anyway, so IELTS is important because with IELTS, without the IELTS, you can lose Chevening scholarship. You can lose any scholarship just for that reason, and maybe not because you didn't meet the scholarship requirement, but because you didn't meet the university's requirements, and it can go south very, very quickly. So guys, make sure you are taking care of all those things. So the only thing I've not touched on now is your essays. So let's go to my essays and then we'll talk about all of that. So the next section is going to talk about the case study I told you guys about. We've successfully navigated the bulk of the agenda for today. We are at Chevening. Now, the Chevening secret formula, like before I go into the case study, I want to tell you guys about the Chevening, what I call the Chevening secret formula. And I think this is the most important part of this workshop. Sorry, it always helps to drink water on these kind of long sessions. So I call it the Chevening secret formula because I've summarized what I think are the three most important things you need to know about Chevening on these three key points you see here. The first one is that you have to have a development story. Chevening, every scholarship has what they prioritize the most. Most of them these days, especially if they are hosted by the UK, most of them have a development focus. And if you miss that, you've missed it. In my own year, there was this guy, he already had an offer from Imperial College. He had a first class from he was the best in his university. He was the best on his course, had a 9/9 on the IELTS, I can't forget. 9/9 on the IELTS. He also applied for Chevening with me. And at that time, I had not even taken my IELTS. Like I told you, I had rejections from all my three schools. You know, I had not gotten any offers. I was not the best. I had a 2-1. But then this guy didn't go past it. They didn't call him past the essay stage. And I was wondering why, what happened? But then after talking with him, it became obvious that he didn't understand that development orientation as much as was needed. You know, his essay was not written to address development, and that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. Now, the development story is just saying, understand what the priority areas are. Understand that Chevening is not asking you to say, oh, they don't want to give you the money to go and become a Goldman Sachs investment banker and become the richest banker on Wall Street and make your career, like, just live a lavish life. You know, they don't want you. They're not looking for people to use those degrees in the UK for their own personal, private benefit. They're looking for people that want to use those degrees and benefit community and give back to the bigger society. And it's important, regardless of what you want to do. It doesn't matter if you want to go for audit, a master's degree in accounting and finance, or you want to work at KPMG or Deloitte when you finish, or you want to work at JP Morgan still or Goldman Sachs. The point is, what is the direction of your essays? I think that guy was applying for something in engineering, and then he was just really looking at the science of the engineering, the technique. He was really just that, like the technology. He was obsessed. Like, that was what the essays were saying. The essays were showing someone that really loved the technology, but the greater good was not perhaps emphasized enough. And that's what you'll be seeing in my essays very shortly. So tell a story. Look at Chevening as a development-oriented scholarship. The people that succeed on Chevening are the people that can tell the best development story about their own unique circumstance. And if you miss it at that point, you've missed forget about the whole scholarship. If you talk about how you want to further your career, how you then plan to get your CFA 1 and 2 and 3, that's off. That's not what they're looking for. The guy. I mean, think about what other people are saying. That's the point. That's the question. What are other people saying in their essays? People are actually building schools from their NYSC allowance, and they're telling Chevening that that's what they did, during the last 1 year. And you're talking of how you want to, so you have to be really smart. You can still talk about your plans, your career plans, but think about it from a development orientation. So I've said enough on that. You will see more in my case study. The second point is to distinguish yourself. Chevening is about making sure that you are not a commodity. I talk about it like, don't be a commodity. First class, I had a first class, blah, blah, blah. That's a commodity. Everybody has a first class now. I was student council president. That's a commodity. That's not unique enough anymore. You have to be unique. Tell a story, distinguish yourself in everything you do with your essays. Let it be that you are the only one with that story. think of a way to this. Even if you are the student council president, tell it in a way that makes you unique. It's a competitive scholarship. I don't know what the count is now for Nigeria, but the year I applied, which I think would have been the smallest number in the last 10 years, in the last 6 years, there were 3,600 people that applied in my year, and only 45 people got it. That's like 99%, 9% or so. So if there's a 9% chance you will get something, then you know you want to do the best in distinguishing yourself. And it doesn't take too much effort. I will tell you, it doesn't take too much effort. You just have to be very creative. Don't be generic. Think about your circumstance and try to tell your story. And that's really what makes a good and successful Chevening essay, you know, development story and distinguish yourself. The last point I would say is validation. I will show you how I've used all these 3 metrics, how I used all of them in my own essay. And even though my essays are old, you see some things that are different between my essays and the new essays. You realize that these same principles apply. And they will still apply to the current format. I know what the new questions are like. I know what the new word count is. It's the same principle. I've coached people in the last 2 years that have gotten Chevening, and I know it still works, but you have to understand from the beginning. Okay, so the validation point is very crucial. The validation point is saying, okay, now you've said all these wonderful things, but how do we know it's true? The third powerful point I want to highlight, which is validation, is saying, get someone else to tell us that what you've said is true. And how do you do that? One, you can do that with your references. The people that are serving as your references can be people that are from organizations that are recognized. And that's why I say the kind of internships you do, the kind of volunteering experiences you do are very helpful. You know, if someone from the United Nations stands as your referee for an internship you did, maybe you are not even paid for a small workshop you did for 1 week. Maybe it was not even a paid internship, but you did something on that workshop, and the guy there is your reference, and he says like, oh, this person really has a plan for developing Africa. This person did something great. That person has validated you before Chevening. That's a validation. It shows that, okay, with what that person has said and with what you are saying, there is some truth. You've done the job for us. You have a bit more credibility more than the average candidate. So find validation. For me, I will show you what my validation was, which I think was the biggest catch for me. Remember I told you I had a 2-1. Remember I told you I didn't have any work experience. Remember I told you, what else? I was really young. What else? I was not applying to the priority area. Engineering was not really stated as a priority area. It was not the focus area for Chevening in Nigeria at the time. So I had lots of odds, you know, against me. But what really happened? I will show you how validation, what I believe is validation and development story, and ultimately how those 2 points help me to distinguish myself in the candidacy. I believe this is really what it comes down to. I don't factor out that there was God's grace involved as well, but I believe scientifically these things really work. And if there is a formula for Chevening, this is what I would say it is at the very basic, as the very foundation of it. So let's go into the case studies and see what we find. So get ready. I mean, if you see lots of essays, don't worry, we're not going to read through everything. There'll be an online copy available, and if you want to see everything in detail, that's possible. So let's go into the case study. So in this case study, I will show you the 4 essays that Chevening currently uses. And then you will see, you wouldn't see these 4 essays exactly as they are on my own essay. I will show you what has changed, but these are the 4 questions Chevening would ask you today. They'll ask you for your leadership and influence, networking, studying in the UK question, and your career benefits. And that's really what Chevening essays are about. Now, this was the first question that Chevening asked me in my year. They asked me about my personal statement. Now, the personal statement that year was really just like, it was their typical, tell me about yourself kind of thing. Who are you? Introduce yourself. And for me, that was a chance for me to introduce what I was trying to do. Like I said, I was an undergraduate at Covenant University that year, and I had worked on a project. For the guys that don't understand engineering technology, my project was just developing a new chemical that was used in refrigerators, in fridges or refrigerators, to make them cool faster and to reduce energy. And it could help people selling tomatoes and fish on the street, because if they could use those refrigerators, then they don't have to wait too long with the little amount of power supply for their fish or their tomatoes to get cold enough for them to sell. and they won't have to spend too much on energy. So in a way, that was my story. Now, the first thing I did here, if you notice in this essay, on this first essay, is to captivate. And that is the principle of successful Chevening essays. Captivate. The very first essay that you think they would read is the most important. If you lose your reader at that point, you've lost them forever. Captivate with the first statement, with the first paragraph, captivate them. So I had to tell them something that will make them want to read. I said, hey, this project has been proven to be significant in increasing energy savings for vapor compression. It is the first of its kind to be successfully carried out in any institution in Nigeria. And that's because most facilities to do this research are not available anywhere. So I'm already telling them, giving them a hint that, hey, there's a reason why I'm also applying for this scholarship, because really it's not something that is common. It's something new. It's the first of its kind. I'm captivating the reader. You're like, okay, what is this guy talking about? Right? So I've distinguished myself by saying, okay, it's the first project of its kind. It's whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. I'm making myself unique already from the very first statement. The second thing I want to draw out here, you can read the full essay in detail once I make this available later. But the second thing I want to draw out here is what I spoke about later on. I said, I've applied to the Chevening program because I believe sponsoring my master's program at Cambridge, which is what I was planning to, where I was planning to go, it was my first choice. I told you they later rejected me, you know. But in my essays, I mean, I wrote it like I was going to go. So also think about that in writing your essays. You don't have to have gotten admission before you write your essays as if that were the case. Even if you change your choices later down after your interviews, it's fine. But they want to see someone that has a plan. They want to see someone that knows what they're trying to do. So write your essays as if you're going to those schools, as if you have already, you know, you have a concrete plan on ground. So I already said here, okay, I've applied to Chevening because I believe by sponsoring my master's at Cambridge, I'll be able to advance an idea which will not only revolutionize the way refrigerators use energy in power-deficient areas of Africa, but would also significantly reduce global warming. By talking about reducing global warming here, I've also brought in it's an interesting picture. I've talked about climate change. I'm bringing development. I'm bringing change, right? Like talking about sustainable development goals of environment, you know, climate change and things like that. So be creative in the way you write your essays. I'm not just talking about my own personal project because I want to go and do my master's and get my master's for my next job. I'm talking about something bigger than myself. You know, helping with global warming, helping to reduce issues with power deficient areas in Africa in terms of energy reduction and things like that. This is what I wanted to do, and truly that was my project. I had won a prize for that, you know, before I applied for Chevening. So that was where I was at that time. Life happens, and you may change your course later on, but you want to show that you have a plan. You want to show that you have something that is driving you. And then you tell your story in a way that shows that you mean and you're serious about what you're saying. So that was the development aspect of this part of this essay. And I want you to pay attention to those bubbles you see on each essay. So this is what I wanted to draw out on this essay. There are other things you can read and pick out on your own, and you would see more and more examples of that. So that's the first thing I would say. Try to captivate yourself, captivate your reader, distinguish yourself, and make sure your essays are development oriented. Let's look at the next essay. The next essay is still available. And by the way, these essays are quite short because then, like I said, there are lots of differences. Then there are 300 words. Now it's 500 words. But the principle is the same. The principle, like I said, is still the same. So the minimum was 300 words, I think, but you could write more. I just wrote 300 words most of the time. For all my essays, they are really short. So it's not about the volume. It's about the quality of what you're writing, guys. Okay, so let's see. So regarding my style of leadership, I'm inclined towards the democratic leadership style. They asked then about my leadership style, and questions were different. But what I want to say here is, first of all, you introduce a topic, you introduce what you're trying to talk about, you break it down, and then you give examples. That's what I really did here. I first of all introduced my leadership style. I then told them how I had used this leadership style in different projects, you know, the iPhone group, the orphanage company I was working for during my holidays, you know, and how this has helped me to like develop other people, blah, 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 you know, and then I gave some good examples. You have to be very realistic. It's not the people that blow the biggest English, the biggest grammar. You have to appeal to someone that is reading your essay. It's storytelling. The most interesting stories you find fascinating are the ones that connect with you. And if you're not able to connect with the person reading your story, let them see through your eyes that you're telling a story, then you can't convince them to take you seriously. So I was telling them stories from where I was at that point in time. This is not the most powerful essay I think that was written for that year. But I think it was one of the most natural, most organic essays. And that's what you want to achieve. So be very systematic, introduce what you're trying to talk about, break it down, then use real examples of your leadership in your leadership essays. Real examples. And like I would say, like one of the agendas for this workshop was to also show you how to format your essays. Every paragraph should talk about something. Many times I get essays to review on the platform of Grad Success. I will show you how to send your essays to us if you want us to review them. It's not a free service, by the way. But when I get those services, when I get people's essays to review, I'm excited and I'm not excited. I'm excited because I can see an opportunity to transform someone's work into something really good. But I'm also not excited because I can't believe people don't really know how to arrange, The train of thought is everywhere. And these are very, very smart people, which is why I'm excited, because I believe I can transform these people's essays to be something better than what it is. All the ideas are everywhere. You want to format, every paragraph should talk about something. It should be easy for the person reading to follow. You watch movies and you enjoy those movies because they've organized every script. Every plot is sequenced. There is a story that is in a particular order. That's what you want to do for your essays, so that the person reading it would enjoy what they are saying and they can understand what you're trying to say. So that is just really what that first part is about. If you apply this to your own essays, regardless of the word count, you should get very good results. Introduce a subject, expatiate on it, tell real stories of your leadership, and pick good examples. The example you will see here is not something many people will talk about. I have not talked about my experience in uni. I've not talked about some random thing I did during I talked about something that is unique to only me, my orphanage experience. And it doesn't even connect to refrigerators. It's something different, but it's leadership. And you want to draw that out. It doesn't have to be with what you studied. Now with Chevening, the second part of the essay that time was asking about networking. Now I understand this is a separate essay on its own. It's a whole different essay on its own. But then they combine it into one essay, leadership and networking. So in this second part of the essay, I tried to show them that I had some networking efforts within the Chevening community, first of all, within my university I was applying to, the UK universities, and even other universities outside of the UK, and also within the companies or the industry I was trying to go to after my scholarship. So on a very high level, that's what you want to do. You want to show them that your networking efforts are robust, that you understand Chevening, you understand the Chevening culture, you understand what Chevening is about. You can mention names. People have used my name a lot, in previous essays. You can mention people you've spoken to. Make effort, talk to people on LinkedIn, talk to program directors at Chevening on LinkedIn. You have to be very creative. You have to be very spontaneous. Get into the Chevening circle, interact with them, and then tell them on your essay that this is what I've learned. Tell them something nobody else is talking about, based on what you've learned about Chevening. An event that Chevening had for their scholars in a UK university last year, because in every Chevening year, there is a workshop at a specific UK university. Tell them about something that someone told you about, that a Chevening scholar that attended one of those workshops told you about in that session. Something that will make them say, wow, how far did this guy go in trying to understand more about the Chevening society? So you have to be unique. Then the second thing you want to show, like I said, is your network in the schools that you're applying to. And it's also about the course you're studying. So you want to show them that you're networking in your subject matter, that in the subject you're trying to study, that you're talking, that what is happening there. You're in communities, you're in circles, you're in the same interest area, or people, you're in interest circles, in the topic you're going to study. For me, it was engineering, it was sustainability, it was refrigerators. And I had been speaking with professors at Michigan University, even at MIT, at Stanford, blah, blah, blah. I mentioned all those names there. You may want to go further in talking about the schools, the lecturers at the universities you're applying to specifically, and the modules, the subjects, But it's not on this particular essay, but you talk about the faculties especially the lecturers that you're talking to. By now, you must have initiated contact with people at the universities you're planning to apply to. So mention their names here. Tell Chevening what you've learned from those guys, what those guys have told you about their programs. Have they told you anything like, what is the feeling you're having? Explain them in your networking essays. And then the last thing is your industry network. Like I said, once you finish the master's, your Chevening scholarship, what next? You want to tell Chevening that you know what's going to happen after, that you're already talking to people in the industry you want to go to, that you have a plan for after Chevening. They want to see someone that is prepared. That means that you're serious. You know what you're trying to do. And every time when I have people asking me about my essays, This is what I tell them. By the way, like at this point, I want to go out, I want to go off course a little bit and say something. At this point, you're saying, oh, there's so many people in this room. They're learning all these tricks and all these beautiful things, you know. How am I going to be different? I will tell you something. Everybody has a unique story. And if you are all, there are 45 slots at least every year. If you're all telling powerful, unique stories, then all of you will get the scholarship. It doesn't matter whether everybody's hearing the same thing. Note to essays, if you understand what I've just said today, then you would know that note to essays can be the same. Note to essays can be the same, no matter if you attended the same workshop or not. The principles are the same, but the outcomes are different. So try to draw out what you can, but think about the principles. Don't think about my essay. Don't copy my, if you copy my essay, you're gone, you know. But think about the principle. So that is what I'll have to say. Those are the two highlights on this page about leadership and networking. And I think that really addresses what happened in this essay. And that's really what I did. That's all. This is what I did. That's what got me my scholarship. But maybe that was 6 years ago. I have to be realistic and say, maybe it's not the same now, but I can also tell you, I've mentored people that got scholarships last year using the same approach. So it still works. It definitely still works. And I got into Cambridge last year or 2 years ago using the same principles. So it definitely still works. Now let's look at the third essay. The third essay is studying in the UK. What did I do here? I always say to start off by impressing. You know, these guys are trying to put their money down. They want to put 45. I think Chevening gave me how much? £30,000 altogether that year, because they pay your tuition. My tuition at Durham University was £18,000, and then they paid an extra £11,000 or £12,000 as my living expense for the whole year. So every month you get roughly £900 per month. It's not big money, trust me. Most of it goes to your house rent, and then you're left with just a little bit, you know, to spend. But you know, at the end of the day, they want to know, why should I give this guy my money? Who is this person? So you want to convince them that, okay, I'm bringing something to the table. I always say on the academic essay, you know, they no longer say it that way. The way they told me, the way they said it in my year was, which is why my essay looked like this. You see, I started talking about primary school. Where did I start from? Secondary school, junior school. I started talking about my high was the best in agricultural science in secondary school. You know, some very weird things that you might not believe, you know, they want to see. But I started from that point, where I ended up with a prize I won for my final year undergraduate thesis at Covenant University, for my final year project, you know, my thesis. You know, that was an award I won for that project. And I was one of only 2 Africans invited to talk about it in Ireland. So I started from the lowest possible point, but I showed them a trajectory of excellence, a trajectory of my academic excellence from when I was in junior high school to my final year in university, and how that makes me, I was trying to just, you know, you want to appeal to these people. Tell them that, give them a sense of relief that you wouldn't go to the UK and get stranded, that you can cope with the UK academic rigor, which is what they're trying to find out. This essay here, studying in the UK, is trying to ascertain if you can survive the UK master's degree program. And I can tell you, it's rigorous enough. People say UK master's degrees are cheap. It's not. It's not. You know, it's not as easy as you think. It's rigorous because it's 1 year and the system is different. You're in the same class with British guys, British people that have gone through a different academic system from you. Your exams, your assignments are different. They require you to think more creatively, to think more systematically, to think more in the direction of problem solving. So in your Chevening essay, they're asking you about your studying in the UK question because they want to see if you have the tenacity to survive a master's degree in the UK and the pressures that come with it. So that's what you want to talk to in this particular essay. So in my year, I had to start by giving them a trajectory of my excellence. And then, like I said again, I captivated and distinguished myself by talking about this award I got. So mind you, I didn't say anything about first class, you know, even though I didn't have it. If you have it, please say it. But don't just stop there. Like I said, first class is a commodity. There are so many people with first class. God, in Nigeria, in Ghana, everybody has a first class now. That's not going to be enough. It's better you might be more competitive like I was if you don't have a first class, but have something else that is beyond that nobody else has. I was one of only 2 people in Africa that did this competition, but it could be anything else. It could be something else that is not that. And I encourage you to be more like, think about something else that will distinguish you. It doesn't have to be like this, but you have to be creative, you know. So, you know, I talked about that award and I tried to distinguish myself with that award as well. And then you try to show how you also fit. In studying in the UK, you want to tell them that I've done my research about these universities and I know I am a fit. At Cambridge, I've already looked at the modules that are offered, and I think these modules will help me to do my dissertation, would help me to succeed on my dissertation, would actually help me to continue on this research that made me even start applying in the first place. So tell them that you've done your research, convince them that you know what you're talking about. And that is really how you write the studying in the UK question, studying in the UK essay. That's how you write it. You start by talking about your academic trajectory, the excellence, your academic excellence trajectory. You distinguish yourself. I see so many people talking about their first class degrees and all that. It could even be your certifications, like certifications you've done, you're a chartered accountant in 2 years, or talk about things that make you different, you know. Or yeah, it could be the same thing. It could be the same thing, but like the way you say it makes you unique. Maybe you got your chartered accountancy for your ICANN or your ACCA, you got it in less than in 1/3 the time most people will get it. And you've gone on to get more certifications. So just, you have to be, I don't know your situation, but you have to think for yourself, you know. And that's what I would say. It comes down to how creative you are about the process. I've said so much on this particular essay. I would have to move on, but in summary, brag and impress, captivate and distinguish with your academic pursuits, and also research and show how you fit. Go to the universities that you're applying to the courses you're applying to, look at the modules on their websites and reflect that you've seen what those guys are offering on that course, the specific subjects that you're going to be taking once you start, and then tell Chevening that you understand how that aligns with your plans. And then that's why you're applying to those particular schools, because Chevening would ask you for that. Or they might not even ask you to say that, but that's what they're trying to see in your essays. Like I say again, like the essays have changed. Chevening no longer tells you to tell them why you're applying to the UK universities. But this was what they asked me in my year, and I actually said all of this, and it worked. And it worked fine. So let's look at the last essay, career benefit. Yeah, so this is still an essay I believe Chevening would ask you to write. And I think it's helpful that I have a similar essay to the one that you will be writing actually for the scholarship for the current year, I think. So let's look at what I wrote. So like the career benefit question on a very general note is asking you to talk about what you will do once you finish your scholarship. So, okay, you've taken our money, you've gotten your master's degree in computer science, or your master's degree in banking and finance, or your master's degree in development, education for development, whatever you've done, you've gotten all of that. So what are you going to do next? Are you going to stay back here? Are you going to try to run away? Are you going to go back to your country and do something and do what? So what are you going to do? That's what the career benefit is talking about. Like I said before, allow me to detour for a minute, just for a minute. I'm going to go out of this. I'm going to go out and come back here. So let's go back to Commonwealth shared and look at those questions again. Remember, we're talking about career benefits. Let's see if we can learn a thing or two from there. So in the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, they ask you to talk about the time frame. How do you plan to implement what you've learned in the UK after you come back? And then what is the outcome of that process? You know, what is the outcome of, you know, your studying in the UK in terms of your career? What will you bring back? Who is going to benefit? Is it your community? Is it the country? Who is going to benefit? So this is also something you want to answer in your Chevening essays. And that is why I said everything interrelates. The career benefit and the career plans, these 2 points here, if you tie them together, then they make your career plans essay in Chevening, these 2 points here. So you have to be really smart in how you write your essays. But let's go back to mine and see what I did. Let's go back and see. Okay. Well, on the very last point, and we are done in a minute. Don't worry. So let's go to the career benefits. So what did I do? First of all, I tried to tell them from the very first sentence again, very direct, very clean. On completion of my master's degree, I want to join this at Shell, because they do this, you know, or that. I was very specific. I had looked at what I was trying to do with my refrigerator research, and I told them, okay, Shell is doing this. I think it makes sense if I join this company once I finish from the UK. General Electric is also doing something similar. I think I might be a fit. I'll tell you why I put those people there, because I mentioned I was speaking. Remember in my everything links up. Remember in my networking essay, I told them I was speaking with someone at General Electric, and I think I mentioned someone at Shell. So everything has to link up, and people make that mistake. They say lots of things that shoot them in the foot in the essays. You know, everything has to link up, guys. Everything has to link up. So then it makes sense that I'm going to General Electric or Shell because I already have contacts there. This is someone that they will take seriously. Your essay has to link up really nicely, guys. So define your goals from the first statement. Let it be sure that you know what you're trying to do. You have a direction, you're specific. You're giving them, you're making them less risk, is it less risk averse now? You're making them less, they have a feeling that they're taking much less risk with you if they know that if they can see that you're as focused and you have specific plans for what you want to do. Okay, so let's look at what else I said. And I tried to connect my modules as well. So I had mentioned the courses I took at Cambridge and essentially how I would pick up skills. Remember the Commonwealth shared the skills that I would pick up that would help me function in those roles at General Electric and Shell. So I connected my modules at Cambridge. At this point now, I'm just majoring on one university because in writing your essays, you might have the confusion. Should I talk about all my universities or should I choose just one? I would encourage you to choose your first choice and talk about, use that as your reference because that is really where you want to go. It doesn't matter if you don't get into it or not, but use that as your reference and then that will help you to write the rest of your essays. Like that would help you to then focus and then, so everything else is just Cambridge. I didn't go to Cambridge. Let me just save you all the, I didn't go to Cambridge that year. I went to Durham University instead, and I did a different program. That's just a twist of everything. And I didn't go to Shell. I didn't go to General Electric. I went to Nestle. I didn't do anything. I ended up in manufacturing. That is where life took me. But then my point is, with these essays, you have to have direction, have a plan. It makes them more confident in your candidacy. Don't be saying, oh, I might do this or I might do that. Or people are very generic, and it gives me a headache when I read their essays. Chevening wants you to have a plan and be specific. So please have a plan and be specific. So let's look at the last point and then we'll just begin to round up. So I also try to show development again and then quantify as much as possible, use numbers to highlight issues. Like if you're trying to improve something, by how much would you improve that thing? By how much would that thing improve with what you're trying to do? Do you have any statistics for how much the problem is? There are 17 million, for instance, you can say, there are 17 million diabetes cases in Nigeria. By going to study an MPhil or a master's pharmacy or whatever, an MBBS, whatever, in medicine, I'm able to come back and solve this problem, contributes to the availability of healthcare personnel in Nigeria to attend to people with these conditions and things like that. Give them real figures, be realistic, and that applies to whatever you're trying to do. If you're in accounting and finance, talk about the percentage of people, small and medium scale businesses that don't have financial, you want to develop an app with some guy in finance, in technology to develop an app that can help people provide accounting solutions to the 13 million traders in Nigeria that don't have accounting solutions for their platforms, for their businesses, for their trade and all that kind of thing. So that makes you more serious. They take you more seriously. They have a better picture of what the problem is and then the problem you're trying to solve. And that's really how you do this, really. That's how you do this, guys. So that is really career benefits. In a summary, define your goals from the very first statement, be specific. I'll add, be specific with what you're trying to do. Connect your modules. The modules you're trying to study at those universities, link them up with your career benefits. And then show how your career benefit is development oriented. Again, here I talked about how my refrigerators would achieve faster cooling rate, reduce energy costs, and increase efficiency in Nigerian homes, things like that, and I quantified with percentages, that's what you want to do. Now, that is really it. That is my case study. That's my essays, right? Normally I would have taken a break, but we're at the very end. So I wouldn't want to keep you guys waiting for too long. It's one of the longest workshops I'm sure you've attended. But let me know. You can start typing stuff in the chat, but let me know what your feeling has been so far. Like, what is the feel in this workshop so far while we go to the next point, and then I will know if I've been boring you guys or if you learned anything. Okay, so let's look at why people miss the Chevening scholarship. Why do people miss scholarships? Let's look at normal reasons. Okay, the first reason I think that people miss the scholarships is because, first of all, they just aren't qualified enough. Sometimes, the typical case is that you are qualified enough to apply for Chevening, but there are people that are just not qualified. And I say this with all sense of respect, it's unfair if you have a 2-2 degree, you don't have any work experience, you have not gotten admission to any UK school, and then you're applying to Chevening. Even if your essays are great, Chevening is putting you next to someone that has all these things. And if the person has done a good job as yourself on the essays, it's unfair to Chevening to consider you above that person. So sometimes it's just because your stats are not very good. But then there are times when you have good stats, you're qualified, but then your essays are not strong enough. So you could also get rejected for that reason. There are times when your stats and your essays are good enough, but then your references are poor. Yeah, you use someone that you don't know as a reference, and he's typing something generic, or Chevening cannot see how you and that person are actually linked up. Like, who is this person to you? How do you know this person? In that case, you also not make cuts for Chevening or any scholarship. Most times you'll be rejected because your references are weak. I will just say this also. Another reason why they won't accept you with your poor qualification is because they don't believe the university you're applying to will accept you as well. And maybe that's why I didn't get Cambridge. Maybe because I had a 2-1 or something, and I didn't have any work experience. And later on, when I got Cambridge, I had already gotten a distinction with my first master's. I had worked for 2 years at Nestle, a big company, a good name, and it was automatic. So, but then Chevening gave me the award. It didn't matter, they believed I would get it. I told a good story. So sometimes it's a combination of the three that really makes you get rejected. Sometimes it's just one reason, sometimes it's a combination of the three. But these are normal reasons why people get rejected. What are the painful, I call this painful reasons because you don't want to be rejected for these reasons, guys. If you've done everything right, you're a strong candidate and your information is wrong, you'll be rejected. Like I said, if you say you have UK citizenship, by mistake, automatic rejection. The system, nobody will even look at your essays. If you say your passport, something, you are related to a UK personnel, that's a rejection. If you don't have a university offer, that's not the rejection at the beginning, but after your interview and after you've gotten a scholarship, if you don't have an offer from any of the 3 schools, then you will be rejected from the scholarship. And that's painful because at that point you've passed the interview, you've gotten the scholarship, but all the 3 schools have rejected you. So I always tell people to apply to more than 1 school. And if you know that you're not going to get any offer from any of the 3 schools, talk to Chevening as soon as possible. That's what I did. I didn't get any offer from the 3 schools. And I told someone at Chevening, hey, I got an offer from somewhere else. I haven't gotten any offer from these 3 schools. And then they helped me to replace my essays, my offers, my university choices very quickly. That day I messaged was actually the last day to make that change happen. And so I was lucky. So talk very early, start talking very early if you're in that situation. Also, the IELTS cutoff is a big, like I told you of my friend that got something with Cambridge and lost it because he couldn't meet the IELTS cutoff for Cambridge. He met the one for Chevening, but not the one for Cambridge. It's possible some people might have the challenge with Chevening as well. Maybe in one component they will score below 6.5. So I tell people, take your IELTS very early in case you need to take it a second time. And try to get 7 across all bands. All of you that are applying to Cambridge, Oxford, Imperial, get 7 across all bands to be safe. Or please check again, maybe it's 7.5 now. I don't know, it's always changing. But those schools have higher benchmarks, right? I think Chevening was 7 in my year, but I didn't have to take it again because I had gotten my master's from Durham. I just did an assessment from Cambridge and that was fine. An English assessment, I didn't have to take the IELTS a second time. But normally if I was to take the IELTS for the first time applying to Cambridge, then I would need a 7 across all bands and an overall 7.5 or 7. Also think of the deadline. All the scholarships have deadlines and you want to make sure you're applying in good time. So I will just stop at this point and answer questions. Adiola is saying, do the references have to be academic? I don't think so. For Chevening, no. For your UK, for your admissions to the universities, yes. They have to be academic. The universities will tell you specifically. Sometimes Cambridge can tell you, Cambridge tells you 2 academic references, But for the Gates scholarship, the Bill Gates scholarship, they will tell you to put one professional reference, which could be from your previous place of work. So in Cambridge, it's 2 academic and 1 professional. But by principle, for all your academic applications to universities, academic references, people that have taught you, people that have supervised your work, that know you academically. Please don't bring your cousin at MIT that is a lecturer and ask him to be your reference. I did that and I was rejected from University College London for that. It was my uncle at Michigan University, so University of Michigan. So please don't do that. If the person doesn't know you, if the person has not taught you personally for a period of time, they'll look at it as being very fake, you know. So don't do that. But make sure that you're picking professors, maybe from your course, that are people that are professors are best. Professors, not just doctors or not just lecturers, like normal lecturers. Professors are actually very, if they've published, if they have high citations, people that they can find on Google when they check that name, you know, those are the people that will help you for your applications. My supervisor was one of the popular professors at Covenant University, and he really helped my Cambridge application and helped my first application to Chevening and Durham University. Okay, so I'm happy I'm getting all this feedback from you guys. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so let me look at the last point again. Deadline is important. Check your deadlines for scholarship. Don't write too late. Don't write your essays too late because there are quite a lot of essays. You may need time to review them. Don't spend too much time writing them. For Oxford and Cambridge, if you're applying to those 2 schools, please apply before the 5th of December. I don't know what the date is. Please check the date again. If you're applying to courses at Oxford and Cambridge and you want funding from those schools, you must apply before the 5th of December. The deadline for your course might be next year, July. But if you want to get funding, if you want to be considered automatically for funding, apply this year by December 5th. That is how it works. Most people don't know this. And then they wait until, they start applying in January because they see that the deadline for the course is next year, July. And by the time they're trying to get funding, they realize the deadline has passed. Right now is the time to start applying, getting your essays ready for Oxford and Cambridge because the deadlines for funding closes very early. So deadlines can mess you up, even when you're the most qualified candidate. I have a recent example. He already had an offer from Cambridge, but he missed the deadline. And now he's trying to get funding. Very smart guy, Cambridge Law, Masters in Law, and that is it. So that's something I want to point out. So people are asking questions. I will start picking comments from the chat box very quickly. And then there's something I want to share with you guys, the last agenda, and I think it's very important, so please stay on to see it. Thanks a lot for sharing. Do the references have to be from your professional contacts? Yeah, I've answered that question already. Academic references for your university applications. For Chevening, I think it can be a mix of both for Chevening, but they should know you very well. Okay, Michael says, thanks for the workshop. I'd like to ask you 2 questions. You got admission not from 3 university choices. Does that mean you applied to Durham? Yes, I applied to Durham outside of Chevening, yes. But once I got it and I knew I didn't get admission to any of those 3 schools, I told them very quickly, I told the Chevening people, sent an email to them and told them to replace my choices. It was a gamble because I had just done my interview. And in my interview, the impression was that I was awaiting an offer from UCL, but the offer came back negative. My last choice was also a negative. So once I knew that it was a gamble, I didn't send that email immediately because I was not sure what I would do to my candidacy. I sent it once I realized it would do more damage. Because the thing is, if you don't get any offers from your university and you don't tell Chevening, they'll give you a scholarship if you get it. If you pass your interview, they'll send you a scholarship letter that has been signed by someone in the Commonwealth Office in London. And once that signature comes on that document that says, hey, we're happy to tell you you've gotten this scholarship, they would also tell you this scholarship is conditional on the point that you get admission to one of these 3 schools. And if you don't get into any of those 3 schools, guy, you've lost the scholarship. So I thought about that. And then I'm like, okay, I'll just tell these guys I didn't get any of those 3 schools ASAP. And then the guy told me, if you hadn't messaged today, you wouldn't have been able to change it because this was the deadline for changing. I didn't know. So once I told the guy, and then he changed my list, he put Durham, my new list was then Durham, Edinburgh, and Strathclyde. And I got Durham, and I was fine. And by the time my scholarship letter came, it didn't affect my chances. If you are good, you are good. If they want you, they want you. By the time my scholarship letter came back, Durham was then on the list, Edinburgh was second. So it was like as if I applied to those 3 schools. So you have to be smart. It's a lot of things that go with this. My process was not an easy journey, but that's why I'm also sharing this, so most people wouldn't make the same mistake I made. After 2 years of returning to Nigeria, so can one, no, you can apply to Chevening again. If you have done Chevening before, you can apply to Chevening again. My second scholarship was not on Chevening, it was on the Oxbridge scholarship. Please, sir, can my secondary teacher, who is my youth pastor, be my second referee? He holds 2 PhDs. So the thing is, in what capacity has your secondary school teacher done anything with you academically? Has he supervised any project with you? Has he done anything with you for a period of time? They want to see that as well. Hello, I can hear someone on the chat box. Go on, I can hear you. Oh, that was an interruption. Okay. So guys, make sure you're using someone that knows you very well for your references. Now, this is what I wanted to show you guys. The next point, and then we wrap up. So this is what's next, guys. This is really the end of the workshop, but this is what I want you to do next from this point. This is what's next after this. If you've really enjoyed this session, we have a survey that we're gonna send to you to let us know if this was boring, for you, or if you learned something, if it was beneficial for you. So just let us know in that feedback, in that survey. It's a very short survey, but it will give us an understanding of what we can do better, what we can improve, and then you have that improved for the next workshop. The next thing I will tell you to do, write your essays, guys. Write your essays. You have everything it takes to write a scholarship essay that works, that would win you a Chevening Award or a Commonwealth Shared Award or a Oxford Award. So go ahead and write your essays. If you've already written essays, but you want a hand, you need a hand, then there is something I'm presenting to everyone in this workshop. And that's for guys, that's only for people that are in this workshop. On the platform of Grad Success, we have what we call the essay review service. And for that service, you have 50% discount for all the essay reviews. So if you've already written an essay, you want someone to look at it for you and tell you, and like I said, if you want someone on the team to like scatter your essays and put them together, right? Then you can place an order. There should be a link in the chat box where you will see that service. So if you go to that platform, you will see that service. If you place an order there, right now you get 50% off on the price, and that's because you're attending this workshop. You get 50% discount with the code GS discount 50. I'll take you there just to show you how to do it if you are not sure. And then someone will be able to look at your essay. So this is where you end up. You place your order there and then choose your essay, scholarship essay. And then if you pick that option there, I will remove one. If you have more than one, you can put it there. But I'll remove one. Apply this code here, GS discount 50 on there, and then you should get the 50% discounts. And that's only because you're attending this workshop. You have the 50% applied. And then someone will review your essays and get them back to you. And then if you want to have an idea of what the review service is like, the review service is just really us looking at your essays and doing exactly what you see in this video here. So this is what you really get us. We'll look at your essays. We'll actually score your essay at the beginning. We'll give you a score. This person had the 50%. That is telling you, okay, compared to everybody, all the essays we have looked at. By the way, we've looked at so many essays. At Grad Success, I've seen all kinds of essays. I've seen essays that have gotten Chevening and essays that have not. And so we score everybody that comes to us, give you a score, a starting score. We call it the initial aggregate score. So if you get a 50%, it means you're just an average guy. There are 50% of the people who have reviewed are better than you, had essays that were better than you. And then we give you feedback to help you improve from that 50% to at least the 90%. Our belief is that if you're in the 90th percentile, you're most likely to be able to get most admission for us or most scholarships. And if you send an essay to us and it's already in the 90th percentile, we will tell you your score is 90th percentile. You don't have to do anything else, or you should just do one or two things to make it 95% or even more. So we tell you what your essay is as it comes to us. If you've done everything right, we tell you the truth. And we tell you, okay, this is what you can improve. Maybe nothing else to improve if it's really, really good, But then we give you feedback on appearance, aspects and contents, achievement and impact. How are you articulating your thoughts, I'll just play this video so you can see all of that, coming up nicely. We give you some brief breakdown on what you have done in your essays, tell you how to start your paragraphs, how to arrange your paragraphs in your articulation, alignment, and all that. So this is what you get for that service. We don't believe in writing essays for people. We believe once you know how to do it the first time, you may not even have to use Grad Success anymore. You can begin to write all your essays the right way by doing it right yourself, because you understand what to do. So that's our principle, do it yourself. We just tell you what's wrong with your essays and give you a guide on how to improve it. And that's all we do at Grad Success. So if you're interested in this service, you get a 50% discount now. But there's also something I'm giving to people for free. If you place that service now, there's also something you will get for free, which actually is a paid service for other people. You can buy it on your own. There is a product we're selling. It's not available now, but I'll communicate this to everyone later on. The same way I've reviewed my Chevening essays, there is a workshop where I will review Oxbridge essay and scholarship application process. That will be communicated to everyone, and that will be, I'll let you know how to access that workshop. It's just the same, it's going to be a recorded video, not a workshop. It's a recorded video like this, where you would see the process. I'll guide you through all my essays for Oxbridge, and I'll let you know what I did right. Those are more recent essays. They're from like 2 years ago. And I will show you some other essays from other candidates, Oxford and Cambridge, that were successful. And then you can then use that as the basis for your application to those schools. But then if you get the GS, if you place an order for the essay review, you get that as an add-on free of charge. So I think it's really the best that we can do for people from Grad Success. You get that free of charge. You get the Oxbridge package for free if you place any order on Grad Success today. So I encourage you to do that service. But otherwise, you can always buy it separately. It's not a problem. You can always access it separately. But what everybody's going to get for free today is a recorded video of this workshop. This workshop is being recorded, and everybody's going to get that for free. So everything you've seen today, you'll be able to access it later on in your own quiet corner. I'll communicate how to access the recorded copy of this workshop for free later on. So you can still see everything we've worked through, including my Chevening essays. But I would encourage people that are applying to Oxford and Cambridge and Imperial to go for the product, the Oxbridge product. I'll communicate how to get that with your email. When you get the survey, you most likely will get the link to purchase that as well. So that's where we stopped today, guys. I believe there's been so much